Historically, it so happened that ethnic Ukrainian lands are present on the modern territories of all of Ukraine's neighboring countries. Beresteshchina in Belarus, Lemkivshchina, Boykivshchina, and Podlasie in Poland, Priyashevshchina in Slovakia, Maramuresh and Bukovina in Romania, Transnistria in Moldova, Starodubshchina and Eastern Slobozhanshchina in Russia. It seems like everyone knows this. Ukrainians have also lived in Hungary since ancient times. There were especially many of them in the northeastern regions at the end of the 17th century after the country was liberated from the Ottomans. But how did it happen that today there are absolutely no ethnic Ukrainian lands in Hungary? There are none. Or maybe there are and we just don't know. So let's try to figure it out together. Currently, approximately 9.5 million people are living within the borders of Hungary, of whom about 78% identify as ethnic Hungarians, or Magyars as they traditionally call themselves in their own native language. The Roma are the second largest group in the country. They make up 3.6% or 308,000 people. In third place are the Germans at 1.6% or 130,000 people. Then come the Slovaks, Romanians, Croats, Serbs and Slovens. Surprisingly, Ukrainians, the representatives of Hungary's largest neighbor, do not even have their own national organization in the country, and as a result, their numbers are considered so low that no one even counts them. How is that even possible? Or maybe the Magyars, like the Slovaks, call Ukrainians Ruthenians. Indeed, such a nationality is listed, but the number of Ruthenians in Hungary is only 4,000. Meanwhile, in neighboring Slovakia and Romania, there are 55,000 and 51,000 Ukrainians respectively. And that's just the official count. It turns out that during the course of historical settlement, Ukrainians somehow bypassed present-day Hungary, even though they did not bypass neighboring countries, which at the time of settlement were also parts of the Kingdom of Hungary. That just can't be, especially considering that Ukrainians and Hungarians were part of the same empire for a long time. Once, during a tour at Palanok Castle, they said that the Mukachevo Greek Catholic eparchy covered a very large area and extended far beyond present-day Zakarpattia, including into Hungarian lands. So there were Greek Catholics there as well. Are there any there now? Official statistics say that there are about 300,000 Greek Catholics in Hungary. Wow! It turns out that Ukrainians have lived in Hungary since ancient times. There were especially many of them in the northeastern regions. The number of Ukrainians increased significantly in the last quarter of the 17th century after the country was liberated from the Ottomans. Almost all the settlers who came to the areas abandoned by the population were Ukrainian-speaking Greek Catholics from the Mukachevo eparchy. In the 18th century, Greek Catholic churches in Hungary began to conduct services in the Magyar language. This was the first major step toward the assimilation of Ukrainians. The leadership of the Hungarian kingdom realized that there was no need to physically destroy the Rusin Ukrainians. It was enough to destroy their language and the Rusins would disappear. Then Ukrainian schools were closed. The second, even more powerful step was taken in the 19th century. The authorities began to encourage Magyarization by various means. It was then that the term Magyaron appeared. This word was used to refer to Rusin Ukrainians who had been Magyarized, primarily members of the clergy and intelligentsia who openly identified with Hungarian orientation. The Magyaroni abandoned their own language, culture and religion and began to promote the Magyarization of the Ukrainian population, making people feel ashamed of their heritage and hide their Ukrainian origins. The outstanding Transcarpathian educator Alexander Duknovich wrote the following about the Magyaron. The Russian word is repugnant to him. He is ashamed of being Russian. Living among the Magyars, he already speaks like them, seeking favor with strangers. So it is truly as I say, a Hungarian Rusin, a Magyaron will be anything but a Rusin. For them, the Magyars, all other peoples are cattle, beasts. Only the Magyar was considered a human being. Whoever is not a Magyar is not a human being. In the Kingdom of Hungary, living conditions and a psychological climate were created for national minorities that often forced people, contrary to their personal principles and beliefs, to renounce their national culture, language, political, religious, and other views. The Hungarians exhibited a high level of intolerance toward German nationalities. Only by renouncing one's own nationality, identifying as a Magyar, and engaging in patriotic activities could one, as a rule, obtain an education, retain or attain a high position, advance in one's career, or simply have the means to make a living. The development of an inferiority complex among Ukrainians and their transition to becoming Magyarons was influenced not only by the chauvinistic policies of the Hungarian authorities, but also by the negative traits in the mentality and behavior of the Hungarians themselves. On an everyday level, in their interactions with Ukrainians, they constantly tried to demonstrate their superiority, to emphasize the simplicity and lack of education of the Transcarpathians, calling them savage Rushniaks, stupid Ruthenians, stinking Ruthens or pigs. In education, the policy of the Hungarian authorities was aimed at instilling in children and young people a sense of belonging to the Magyar homeland and nation and loyalty to the Hungarian state. Ivan Franko, in his article "And We Are in Europe," describes how a Hungarian school inspector, invited to dinner by a local priest, was outraged that his daughter spoke Ukrainian. "I cannot have dinner with such a Magyar citizen who has not taught his child Hungarian, whose child barks in a barbaric jargon." This was a true ethnocide of Ukrainians, which in the 20th century took on the characteristics of genocide when the Magyaroni began to collaborate with the Hungarian government during World War II and participated in the torture and executions of the soldiers of the Carpathian Sich. In 300 years of deliberate ethnocidal policy, the Hungarians completely eradicated the Ukrainian language in Hungary, thus proving the well-known saying, "When a language disappears, so does the people." This is an excellent illustration of what another neighbor, Russia, is unsuccessfully trying to do to Ukrainians. And when not so long ago some supporters of the "what difference does it make" thesis in Ukraine treated the language issue lightly, they were in fact playing into the hands of Ukraine's enemies. Many Russian rulers, just like Putin now, have dreamed for centuries of erasing Ukrainian identity from the face of the earth, but they did not succeed, and thank God they never will. But on Hungarian territory, the Ukrainian people disappeared. These 300,000 present-day Greek Catholics are all descendants of Ukrainians, but they do not know the Ukrainian language and do not identify themselves with Ukraine in any way. In the town of Hajdúdorog stands a Greek Catholic church built in the mid-18th century, which now serves as the center of the archdiocese. In Hajdúdorog, no one knows the Ukrainian language nor English. Therefore, you won't be able to ask if there are any Ukrainians in the town, although the answer is already known. Only the incredible iconostasis, which contains 54 icons, stands as direct evidence that this church is not of Hungarian origin, but no one will mention this anymore. So, we have established that there are also Ukrainian ethnic lands on the territory of Hungary, two northeastern regions where most of the Greek Catholic eparchies are located. There are almost 300,000 people of Ukrainian origin in Hungary, but unfortunately they do not consider themselves Ukrainians. But I also want to remind you what ethnocide is. This is a type of political behavior aimed at destroying the identity and culture of a particular ethnic group. Unlike genocide, which achieves the same goal through the physical extermination of people belonging to an ethnic group, ethnocide can be carried out through a set of measures that destroy the systemic connections within a people, pushing its members to transition into a different ethnic identity. The greatest efforts in implementing ethnocide policies are directed at destroying national languages. This is linguicide, and Hungary has excelled at it remarkably well. Somewhere in the Kremlin they have surely long studied the Hungarian experience in dealing with Ukrainians, but something isn't working out for them. And thank God for that. Overall, no matter how you look at it, Ukraine hasn't been very lucky with some of its neighbors. Nevertheless, Ukrainians have managed to survive and endure through many centuries of harsh struggle for their existence. We can do it now as well.